Before we begin, I just wanted to say that this video is definitely one you can feel free to just have on in the background while you do other things. It's meant to be a chill discussion video pulling back the curtains a little bit on humblemud and my life right now. With that said, all the games shown here today are ones I've wanted to try for ages, and knowing my weird tastes, you know that means the ones I'm going to play are often considered hidden gems. So just a heads up, you may want to go back through the video after you listen, just in case you come across something that you may enjoy.
Humblemud.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day or night depending on when you're watching this. At the time that I'm currently recording this, we are currently over halfway through August of 2026, which is just an insane thing for me to try to wrap my head around. And when I think back on this year and how it's flown by, I realize that I spent a lot of that time stressed, perhaps more than I'm comfortable with. And reflecting on this further has just made me internalize some things that I think we've all heard before but often overlook, and it really boils down to just being kind to yourself, to give yourself grace. And I know I have a tendency to do this, so maybe you guys do too. I think we often set ourselves up, whether it's over the span of the next 24 hours, or a week, or a month from now, or maybe even a whole year from now. I feel like we often set ourselves up for failure by thinking about all the things we feel like we should be able to achieve, what sounds manageable on paper, without accounting for how life can and does get in the way. Then we accomplish maybe half of what we intended, or not even that, and we beat ourselves up. I can be incredibly hard on myself, and when I'm going back through what I thought I'd accomplish versus what I actually did in my brain, I tend to completely overlook the very real roadblocks that come up. But I was thinking about how stressful this year has been for me so far, and I tried to find a way to quantify that stress. Has 2026 really been as stressful as I'm thinking that it's been, or am I just kind of a wuss, you know? So one way I thought of quantifying this was seeing how many videos I made by this time in 2025 compared to mid-August 2026. After all, this channel is a creative outlet and a source of stress relief for me, so how much did I devote myself to this thing that I enjoy so much? Well, during January to August of last year, I put out 25 full-length videos. This year, I've only managed to do 18. And that was really telling for me because, again, I love making videos. If I could do this full time, I absolutely would. But seeing that I was 7 videos short compared to last year hurt. I felt like I was not only letting myself down, but you guys as well. And the funny thing about all of this is that this was the first year since I started doing this channel where I came into it with a plan. I had what I thought were measurable goals and reasonable things to set out and accomplish in 2026, mostly based around that backlog challenge that I announced and kicked this whole year off with. However, Miss Humblemud and I started this year off sick. The work at our day jobs unexpectedly ramped up, and I actually love my day job just about as much as anyone can love one, but what we thought and planned for this year to look like is not at all how it actually shook out. We've been struggling to keep our heads above water this year, unfortunately, and at the start of the summer, I fractured my right ankle and left elbow at the same time, obviously not planned, and that meant I wasn't able to drive, work normally, or do just about any of the normal activities that I'm used to doing for like 2 months. I'm telling you guys, I couldn't even open a jar, and I'm still currently going to physical therapy to get my strength and flexibility back, and still dealing with some residual pain as well. Not to mention that recovering from that injury pretty much ate up our entire summer, so of course we wanted to live a little bit and make up for that lost time. And on top of all that, I guess Miss Humblemud will need to be referred to as Mrs. Humblemud here soon because we're actually getting married in October. And while that's super exciting, of course, and I'm sure it will be a lovely day, I'm also sure that many of you know that wedding planning can be one of the most sneakily stressful things that you're ever going to have to do with your loved one, even if you try to keep it simple like we are. So when I actually stopped and thought about it for a second, I realized it's no wonder I'm at where I'm at right now. I pretty much decided to take on probably the most ambitious challenge I've ever done with this channel, and then proceeded to basically have every other part of my life get more complicated at the exact same time. And I don't just mean the backlog challenge when I talk about ambitious challenges here, though that has presented its own unique issues, which I'll get to in a bit. Many of the videos I've really wanted to put out this year, I just haven't gotten the chance to make because they're so ambitious just by their nature. And I don't know if you all know this, but I try to capture all of my own footage, write my own scripts, edit, and so on. So just as an example, the Ardu Boy video that I did recently and the industry hardship video I did recently, they took me a combined 40 hours to complete altogether from beginning to end. And I did that on top of my normal work week while trying to also have a life and be a good partner. Just simply looking at the math, it's difficult to manage these things. And I also realized that if a friend of mine was telling me all of this, saying that they were doing all of these things and felt like they were coming up short, I wouldn't hesitate for a second to tell them just to chill the F out, that they're doing great considering the circumstances. Hell, I'd probably encourage them to take a break, if anything. So why don't we afford this same type of kindness and understanding to ourselves? And why do we often feel the need to push ourselves past the brink before we finally do? But I couldn't not make something this week, and that's what got us here. Now, I just showed Grapple Dog, which is a really charming game on the Switch that feels like a callback to the GBA era with fantastic movement and platforming, as well as Xanadu Next, which is an amazing dungeon crawling game made by Falcom, a game I managed to map all the controls to the right side of my keyboard so that I could still play it once my left arm was out of commission. These were two games I've wanted to play for years now, but didn't necessarily have plans to talk about on the channel. I've been trying to carve out some time lately to just play things for the sake of enjoying them. With the limited time that I have, ironically, making videos kind of cuts into the time that I'd normally have to just play a game. So I've been a little bit more selfish this last month or so. When I decided I wanted to do this video, for whatever reason, the game I really wanted to experience just for myself was Voodoo Vince. When I was a kid and had an Xbox, this was a game I always wanted to play, but never got a chance to. I had one of those demo discs and I used to play the demo for this game all the time, to the point that when I think original Xbox, even to this day, little Vince here is not too far behind Master Chief in my head. And playing it now, while the music is surprisingly fantastic, the platforming is really fun, and the Tim Burton-esque art style makes for a great world to roam around in, what connected with me most playing Voodoo Vince this week was how much I felt like I related to him. The whole concept of this game is how he's this sentient voodoo doll, and so he often has to hurt himself to achieve the goals that he has. And at the expense of sounding overly dramatic or even a little emo here, I really feel like I've kind of been a Voodoo Vince myself this year. Like I hinted at earlier, the backlog journey has presented its own challenges too. I initially thought it would be great for the channel because theoretically I'd have plenty of things to talk about after experiencing all of these great games, but in addition to having less time than I expected to actually complete a lot of them, another challenge that came up was trying to figure out what to say that hasn't already been said. A video I was so excited about making this year was on Eco, and how playing that game for the first time felt weirdly familiar despite not having ever played it. I knew the game was inspired by Zelda, but to me, I just couldn't shake the feeling that Eco itself had to have inspired The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. They both share that gritty and surreal atmosphere and have those intense blooms and shadows. I was so excited to talk about this, only to realize that once I stepped out of my bubble, I saw that people have been talking about how influential Eco is for nearly 25 years now. And while I haven't seen a ton of people directly compare Eco and Twilight Princess specifically, I didn't want to share something with you guys if I didn't feel like it added value. That's just one example, but this sort of thing has come up a couple times now this year and wasn't something that I necessarily anticipated when I began this whole backlog challenge. And maybe I'm just overthinking all of this and should have released it anyway, who knows. I'm just a one-man show here, so you can all tell me what you think down below. Anyway, another game I pivoted to as I was consciously avoiding my backlog for some video game junk food was How to Survive. Now, I love action RPG hack and slash type games in the vein of like Diablo or Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and just about every system has at least one example of these types of games, but I honestly wasn't sure if the Wii U did once I started thinking about it. Well, I did some digging, and this game is the closest example to these types of games that I could personally find, and I found it even more compelling in certain respects. Basically, with this one, you mash up Diablo type gameplay with twin stick aiming, survival mechanics like managing your hunger, thirst, and sleep, and then you throw in a lot of zombies. I mean, a lot of zombies for good measure. While there are newer versions of the game that integrate weather effects, higher resolutions, and better performance, I have zero regrets playing this one on the Wii U because it's the only version of How to Survive that has a real-time inventory management system. It actually uses the Wii U gamepad in a really compelling way, similar to Zombie U, where you can absolutely get jumped by some zombies while you're fumbling for a med kit if you're not careful. And I'll never forget that moment where I was trudging through the swamp in the middle of the night trying to heal up while zombies kept on coming. No other version of this game has that tension, since in any other version of this game you've got to pause to access your inventory, and that's what really makes this version of the game special in my opinion. Now, as for the next steps with humblemud, I'm honestly not sure. Right now, I'm just listening to my body and my mind and trying to decide what's best for me. Does that mean I might take a little break? Does that mean I'll bounce back next week with a video I'm really proud of? I'm truthfully not exactly sure at the time that I'm recording this. I will say though that I have zero intentions on quitting. I'm not leaving or, anything crazy like that. I absolutely love what I'm doing here. It is a dream come true for me to do this and to have the audience that I have, and I feel like we've got a really cool community building around this channel and my dumb hyperfixations on weird games. And if you guys like this style of video, maybe I'll keep it a little more casual for a bit while I try to build out some of these more ambitious ones in the background and just kind of show you all what I'm playing while talking about whatever's relevant in my life at the time. Maybe I'll take an extra week to come back with something that I've been daydreaming about making for months. I'm honestly not sure yet, but I am here to stay for the long haul, and I hope you realize that whatever I do over these next couple of weeks is ultimately in service of that. So I appreciate you sticking along for the ride. Alright, let's cut to one more game before we close this thing out. Discovering Dolphin Blue was like finding the long-lost Sega game that I never knew I needed. The first thing that stands out to me is its art style. The incredible blue hues all over this thing, the theatrics of a character riding a dolphin and gunning down some evil military, and the wonderful pixel art interspersed with 3D structures was like seeing heaven for me. This game was created for the Atomiswave, which is an arcade system developed by Sega that shares a lot of hardware similarities with the Dreamcast. I have no doubt that had the Dreamcast been around a little bit longer, we'd have seen a home console port of Dolphin Blue to it eventually. However, you don't really have to dream, pun intended, because you can actually play this on a Dreamcast, though the performance is admittedly a little spotty. Emulating it on something like Flycast, though, it's an amazing experience. It has a lot in common with Metal Slug, as you can probably tell, and while overall I think something like Metal Slug X, for example, is probably a better experience overall, Dolphin Blue is a great game that is well worth your time, just for the visuals and spectacle alone. I will say though, it is hard. You're watching my first playthrough ever here, by the way, so I definitely got multiple times. Thank the universe for unlimited continues. Alright guys, I think I'll stop it there. I hope you enjoyed this for what it is. I know it's a little different from my usual stuff, but hopefully you got something out of it. I'd love to hear any and all thoughts about the games or the life stuff or the channel or how you're doing, anything. I'll read and respond to every comment. If you're still here, thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay humble.